1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. It's probably good. Hey!
I don't know what to do with my hands.
It's gonna be a weird adjustment.
Hello, podcast listeners.
Hello, podcast listeners.
Hello, YouTube viewers.
Yeah, we'll have to start putting this on YouTube.
We've got all the stuff. Marshall, to take this podcast to the next level, or should I say the next sense? Because you'll no longer be using your sense of hearing, you'll be using your sense of sight.
You could see me do that.
Yeah, that was cool.
Now when I go like this, like, hey guys, you'll know.
Yeah, and I can't do crude hand gestures at you anymore when the podcasters aren't listening.
Do I keep that? Now here's the question: do I keep that? Do I just spend the work to try to blur that? Yeah. I could put a box over it.
How about this? The podcasters still don't know what I did, so this will be a good incentive to get them to go watch the video to see what I did to you.
Yeah. One of my, let me make sure it is still recording. It is recording. Let me move the mouse so it doesn't accidentally jostle it. One of my favorite things, the Always Sunny podcast, they didn't have video at first, I don't think. And then they eventually added it. They started calling, because they would always be listeners, because that's what there was. But then they added videos, so they're like, what do we call the watchers? Do we call them watchers? Like, that sucks. What is that? Yeah. So they started, and because it's sunny, McElhaney started apparently calling them the creeps, just on his own volition, not having anything to do with being on the show even. It's just like, it's because it's creepy, man. There's people watching
us.
So now it's the joke that like the creeps are the ones who watch the show.
Creeps.
But we can't steal that. So we can call them crepes.
We
call them
the
we have crepes in the cinema lounge.
Smoke the cigarettes.
Mustache.
Backhand.
This is my mustache. Why are you smoking it like
how
this?
they smoke their cigarettes.
You sound like you're one of the French peeps.
In France.
France?
I'm French. Yeah. I need to work on my accents, actually. Oh, I recently did a D&D one-shot where I was a French character, and it was
unfortunate.
Not good.
Yeah.
It's not good. Anywho.
Yeah.
Marshall, this is so fun. This is Marshall's great work.
This is the cinema lounge.
You spent a lot of work setting up the lounge.
Yeah. So. You want to do a little turnaround? You want to see a little
circle? Show the people. I'll describe with my voice.
So check it out.
Hey,
I'm gonna pick up your camera then.
Marshall's standing.
So this is Ben.
Yep. Hey.
He's a nice, handsome young man.
Thank you. I wore a cardigan.
We have a light here. There's Aragorn's sword in the. Can you see my hand?
Wow.
There's Aragorn's sword in the corner. That's my closet.
Yeah.
This right here is where I keep cool comic books.
Yeah.
I've got different runs of comics on there. It's pretty sweet. There's the Colombian flag. Because I guess I'm a bad American and my fiance is Colombian.
He's in love with... Also, you're talking to not your microphone. Watch out. Well, we'll turn it up. There it is.
Now the long arm is coming in handy.
Yeah, look at you go.
There's art up there. The one on the left is one that I did. The one on the right is by Joey Lee Cabral. It's Mr. Freeze. I cannot pass up a good freeze.
Yeah, listeners, the room is about an 8x8. What are we working with here? Like a 8x10?
Hard to say.
Frick. It's one wall is blue because there's a hue light that's blue, and the other wall is this nice peach kind of orange. There's probably a real hex number for it. Marshall has memorized because it's a podcast theme. Color.
I sure don't, Ben.
Yeah.
But that's the lounge, basically.
Yep.
There's all kinds of like comic books and art supplies and Lego and novels and stuff over there. This is the cinema lounge, everybody. Bet you didn't expect to see the real cinema lounge today.
Marshall, I always kind of envy.
Crepes?
I envy your room. I envy this place because I feel like there's so many fun nerd culture things around that I don't own. And then I always leave my house and I go back to my house and I talk to my wife and I'm like, Marshall's house is so cool. He has hue lights. And she's like, no.
She doesn't want... Okay, has she been somewhere that has nice lighting like this?
I think I'm going to ask specifically from my family for Christmas. I want every member of my family to give me one Philips Hue light bulb and acquire a collection that way. Yep.
That's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So what I did is I spent a lot of money on this room all at once, but the rest of the house is just the $15 like up and down bulbs. I don't need these. it's still hue, but it's just
Oh.
they're not RGB.
Uh-huh.
So the ones that are color changing are $50. The regular ones are just 15 each, which is still expensive for a light bulb.
Yeah.
But it's not $50.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's why I'm a cheap boy, and I have 2 whiz lights that are not the Philips Hue, and then when I feel like setting the mood in some room, I have to sprint to my office and unscrew them and then plug them in a different lamp.
I have those in the
It's
bathroom.
Real cool. Really?
Yeah, whiz lights.
That's fun. You can still use your Echo with them, but they
I've
don't
got
work.
nice padding in my bathroom.
Is there
It doesn't really echo.
Is there a good app that connects all the smart bulbs into one thing I can control, or
Probably
is
not.
it?
I
That
kind of
makes
doubt
sense.
it. Am I in the frame right? Yes, I am. Okay, well, everyone, that was your tour of the Cinema Lounge. Welcome to the lounge.
I'm feeling more comfortable already. Welcome.
We're getting used to it.
Yeah, it's good.
But welcome everyone to Cinema Lounge, the official podcast of the Great Scub-Doo. Clink it and sink it.
Oh yeah, we got whiskey. Clink it, sink it. Don't chug that. Just sip it. Oh, that's good stuff. Kind of sweet.
Oh man.
That'll make your eyes tingle a little bit.
Yeah, roommate Ben, if you're watching or listening, I gotta say I like this better than the thing you brought over that
Yeah,
one time.
let's go. Freaking four roses, small batch select. It's a straight bourbon whiskey.
Pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's a blend of like 6 of their other whiskeys, which is kind of fun. Not a sponsor of the pod. Maybe though.
Yet.
Who knows?
It's a very good Cinema Lounge
Oh
product.
gosh, we should push for sponsorship. How does
I mean,
that
that's
work?
how you make money on podcasts.
Yeah, should we do? We don't really probably have the listener base to really be able to make a pitch, huh?
Not quite. We're working on it.
Where
Consistency.
Are we at? It's not important.
Yeah, we'll get there.
talk later. Okay.
But yeah, the official podcast of the Great Scub-Doo, the YouTube channel we never touch. I'm Marshall, and this is, as always, my great co-host, Ben.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen?
Everybody.
Guys, gals, non-binary pals. You're all
Yeah.
welcome in the Cinema Lounge. That's what we always say.
Yeah. It's a cool place to hang out and watch movies or talk about them. Or, I don't know, you saw the room, do whatever you want, I guess.
Speaking of watching with the people who partake in the podcast, we got to get the Discord going. Let's get the people in the Discord. Let's
Yes.
watch a movie in the Discord, Marshall.
So we officially,
Movie night.
let's get this plug out of the way and we'll start talking about the movie.
Yep.
Is I did officially get the Discord going. We talked about it briefly at the end of the last episode, but now it's actually a thing. So I'll put the link in the description of
I
this
think
episode.
that feels like a real tangible way to grow a community.
I think so.
Is Discord.
Yeah.
I feel like that would really change the whole mood of the whole podcast if we actually had a Discord.
I think so.
going.
Well, and it's on there. We have a few people in there.
Cool.
There's Ben, Bill, Jeffrey, and my cousin Camden right now, I think.
Sick.
Yeah.
It's
pretty sweet.
Start small.
We're both in there.
There's got to be a Reddit channel we can post it on.
I guess.
Someone
I
on
don't
Reddit
know.
wants to talk about movies with us, I bet.
I feel like self-promotion is a issue on a lot of forums.
Yeah, sometimes you got to put yourself out there, Marshall.
Well, everyone.
Which is why I'm here to tell you about my OnlyFans.
Whoa!
Okay.
Just kidding. Here we are to talk about a movie.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of my favorite movies. I hadn't seen it in a very long time. And like I just have very, very fond memories of it. Didn't remember it super detailed necessarily, but I had a really good time rewatching it. What's it called, Ben?
The Great Escape.
The Great Escape. It's a good one. I like it a
good.
lot.
Yeah.
To
What
give
made
you
you
a
want to
little
watch
preview, I
it? You
guess.
just texted me kind of out of nowhere, and you were like, "Dude, Great Escape," and I was like, "This is perfect." I just watched Ocean's 11.
Yeah, which was an interesting connection to make. I don't remember. I think I saw like an ad on Instagram or something that there was a Criterion sale. I know that because it's November and there's always a Criterion sale in November. And there is a Criterion version of this. If you follow the Instagram, Cinema Lounge Pod on Instagram, that is the main image that I posted. Next to the other 4 is the cover of the Criterion.
And they just
Disc.
remastered it, and
Yeah.
okay.
So the version that I watched totally legally on the internet was the remastered version from Criterion, and it's gorgeous, and the colors are beautiful, and I loved it.
I thought Criterion was on HBO Max automatically.
No,
No?
TCM is on HBO
Oh,
in America.
I thought they had a Criterion collection on HBO Max. Wow.
No.
Okay.
TCM has a lot of crossover with that, probably.
Okay.
Turner's Classic.
Yeah.
But we watched The Great Escape, came out in 1963, based on a true story, and adapted from the novel of the same name, which is nonfiction. It's not like fictionalizing events. I've listened to like half of it now, and it is this guy who was there going through like the progression of the story and everything. And it's really cool. And through listening to that, I found that it is like very close. The movie is very close to the real events, apparently, which is wild. Because you watch this thing and you think that a lot of it's going to be heightened, but it, based on the book, is not, which is cool.
From what I saw, it was mostly like the characters in the movie are condensed by into a lot of different people into different characters, which makes sense for the casting that they did to be able to pull it into some main characters to kind of tell the story. And then it seemed like, in general, they simplified some stuff for the movie, made it more for an American audience, and kind of to be able to get people to the box office, obviously. But yeah, seems like it's a good telling of the story.
It is. It really is. So it's directed by John Sturges, who also did Bad Day at Black Rock, Gunfight at the OK Corral, The Old Man and the Sea, and most significantly, probably, the original Magnificent Seven, which is the movie that allowed him to actually make this. This is a passion project of his that he wanted to get going for a long time. The Magnificent Seven is the thing that finally kind of pushed it over the edge for him to actually bankroll it, which is great. Written by James Clavell, W.R. Burnett, and the book is by Paul Brickhill. The score is Elmer Bernstein, who is a legend. I did the Ten Commandments, Some Came Running, The Magnificent Seven as well, To Kill a Mockingbird, The Shootist, Airplane, and Airplane 2. Which has actually a pretty good score.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch Airplane, like it's one of the best comedies of all time, but the music in it is like unnecessarily good.
Yeah.
And that's because of Elmer Bernstein. Ghostbusters, also a movie you don't think about the music, but I really like the score in Ghostbusters. Three Amigos and other stuff. Cinematography, Daniel L. Pfapp. West Side Story is the main thing that I could find that was like notable of his.
Okay.
He had a lot of credits, but the thing that I specifically noticed was West Side Story, which is also like a gorgeous movie.
Yeah.
The original, obviously, not the one that came out last year, which is also like visually stunning.
Yeah.
I really, really like the Steven Spielberg version as well.
I haven't seen it yet. My wife watched it without me.
What
I know.
a jerk.
I know.
Divorce.
Yeah.
There's only one answer, and it's divorce. Visual effects, not applicable. Actually shot in Germany, in the surrounding area, some in Austria, which is really cool. So when you're at the camp, it's not
I'm
like
so sorry.
That's great. Put it back in and do it again.
All right, pause for whiskey. Oh.
Yeah. But it's like if you watch a modern day version of this, I have no doubt that it would just be like we've built a set and then the rest is just green screen set extension. But you watch this and it's really cool and really apparent that like they built this entire thing in the woods in Germany.
Yeah.
And it looks gorgeous and really cool and apparently really accurate to the real camp.
Also nice too, where I feel like sometimes with old movies like this that you're like, oh, and that's the rolling hills of California, or that's like, you know, like somewhere clearly not wherever they say it is. I'm so sorry.
It's good though.
Thank you. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be.
Well, it is, Ben.
We should do this more often. This is such a cinema lounge vibe to drink the whiskey.
Yeah, right. Well, we used to have like a beer every once in a while with it.
Oh yeah, but now we gotta. Yeah, we'll have a rotating thing. That would be good for us. Anyway.
Yeah. Performances. This movie has like a cavalcade of incredible actors from the like mid to late 60s.
And fun thing that I saw as I was perusing through, so many of them had either military experience or World War II experience, or people who played roles that were like in like POW camps, both German soldiers in the United States and freaking like it like had experience with breaking out. It was
Donald Pleasance was actually in a POW camp, which is crazy.
Insane.
It's like that's something that's so specific to this era of cinema. You don't get that anymore, and that's
people
because we haven't had like big
other
wars.
Things, or specifically with being veterans. You mean?
Yeah.
Or
like that used to be such a thing, but there were so many conflicts in that like time period. So it's kind of hard to not be in the military, I guess. But at this point, these guys are so rich they can just draft dodge or whatever, not sign up.
Right. Or or there's no draft anymore.
Yeah.
Or the concept of who where you branch off to who actually joins the military nowadays out of high school, as opposed to then where
it was like your American duty.
Yeah. Right,
yeah.
Sure.
It's interesting. You've got Steve McQueen, James Garner, Richard Attenborough, Charles Bronson, James Donald, Donald Pleasance, James Coburn, Hans Messemer, David McCallum, Gordon Jackson, and John Layton, just to name 100.
Yeah.
But there's so many great performances in this movie. So that's the script, score, cinematography, performances, directing, visual effects. Question now, Ben. What the heck is this movie about?
Well, basic synopsis would be that the Germans are building a POW camp that is like the top-notch POW camp.
Yeah.
We're going to send all of our smartest guards, our tip-top people to this camp, and then we are going to send all the people around Germany that have been breaking out of camp, all the people who need to be locked down the tightest, we're going to send them all to the camp as well.
Yeah.
Because that way we being the Germans, we can really pay attention to locking down these people who have broken out 14, 15, 16.
Put all your rotten eggs in the same carton.
That's the quote.
They say something
That's
like
the quote.
that.
Yeah. And then the response is, well, it's our duty as soldiers to break out and make it as hard for the enemy to make them put as many resources as possible into keeping us, which I thought was super cheesy. Also, fun fact, that is not a real thing. It never was a real thing in World War II.
Interesting.
None of the armies, none of the countries involved had any sort of thing that said soldiers had to try to break out if they were captured.
Interesting. That's a direct quote from the book.
Oh, is it?
So it might not be normal protocol, but it is definitely the attitude of these real men.
Yeah.
Because like when you go through the book, well, finish your synopsis there. Yeah.
Well, pretty much for the movie, you bring together these top-notch breakout stars, like people who want to get out of camp. And of course, what starts happening is they all start scheming together about how to have the great escape to get out.
Immediately, they start scheming.
As soon as they all get thrown in. And they it's kind of fun. They recognize each other as they roll in, like, it's that one dude, or hey, it's one of the boys. We know who this is.
Oh, hey, Mac. They got you too.
Yeah, and each of them. This is now outside of the plot, but each of them has their own unique role, their own unique ability,
and I have all those written
their own
down
unique
here.
talent. Yeah, you want to say them?
Sure. So these are all more or less true to life. All of these guys, they're not the exact real people, but they are, like we said earlier, like a compression of them. Like there was a real Roger something. I don't remember what the character's last name is. I don't remember if it's the same as the real man, but that guy named Roger is not Big X in real life.
Right.
He's the combination of the guy who was Big X and this Roger guy. So that's played by Richard Attenborough, spared no expense, and which is so fun seeing him not in Jurassic Park.
Right.
Because you're just not used to that as a modern audience. That's like the only thing you've seen him in probably otherwise.
Right. Yep.
But they basically formed this organization over time that was just called X, because it was their intelligence organization and it was their secret thing that they were putting together. So he was Big X. Bartlett, Roger Bartlett is his name in this. I think it might be Roger Ames in real life. I can't remember. But Roger Bartlett is X, who's the leader. Henley, played by James Garner, is the Scrounger, which apparently is the same thing that James Garner did in real life in the war.
Yeah, I saw that.
Like he was pulling on that same experience, which is great. So Scrounger being the person who can get stuff, like Red in Shawshank. Danny and Willie, played by Charles Bronson and I think John Layton, are the Tunnel Kings. So they're the guys who are really good at tunneling and they're leading the charge on the tunnels. Tom, Dick, and Harry. And there was actually a fourth tunnel in real life called George, which was not declassified until a few years ago, actually.
Oh, wow.
Ashley is Dispersal. Don't remember who played Ashley. But that's, you got to get rid of all this dirt. What are you going to do with it? You got to do something with it. Blythe is the Forger, played by Donald Pleasance. So he was just an artist, got shot down, unlucky. Sedgwick is the Manufacturer. I think that is James Coburn. And Cavendish is the Surveyor. I don't remember who plays him. I don't have... Oh, second page. I was like, there's guys missing. McDonald is Intelligence, who's fantastic. He's one of my favorite characters. I don't remember who plays him. Sorry. He's probably dead. And Ives is the mole because he is a little guy.
Yep.
I guess.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
So it's fun because like each of those, as you're watching the movie, each of those roles, they are speaking to each other like kind of meta. Like it doesn't really, you don't really, the audience, they refer to him as the mole, or you never see them say like, oh, the scavenger is the guy who looks for the thing. You know, it's just kind of like assume that all of them know what each of these.
Yeah, like they have their meeting and it's like, you'll be scavenger, you'll be the scrounger, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
Danny, Willie, Tunnel Kings, and they don't really explain it. They just kind of like, you get scenes later. That I think that's one of the things I noted is that this is not a short movie. It's like 3 hours long.
Yeah.
And that's, I don't think that today,
2:45,
something like that. I think what they would cut out today is instead of what they do in this, where they go from like job to job and have a full scene about it, there'd probably just be a montage.
Yeah.
But they do full scenes of every single thing, of the wardrobe, of the tunnel, of the scrounging, everything. And every single one is riveting. Like, it's fantastic.
Yeah, I feel like riveting is a good word for it. Like almost every part of the movie, I was engaged.
It's just
which doesn't
exciting.
always happen with movies of this era or
Sure.
older movies. I feel like I kind of want, this movie made me want to make a list of old movies that I would recommend to a friend. Like, oh, you want to get into movies made before 1970 or something like that? Here's my list of things to start with.
Great stuff.
Yeah, because I feel like, if you turn a classic movie, well, that's funny, the second time we talked about this, like, you're not always going to be, like, pulled right into the movie.
No.
So I feel like, this movie is one of those ones that I feel like I would recommend. We're jumping to the end of the podcast now. But a movie
Just don't
that
say
I would,
yes
I
or
would
no, and it's
recommend.
fine.
Yeah, it's fine. A movie that I would recommend because every single part of the movie is, I sit there and I want to watch it.
It's like actually great.
Yeah. I'm interested and invested in these characters and the way that they're introducing the characters, like from the beginning.
Yes.
I'm like, ooh, all these different characters are coming together, and I want to see where it goes. And also the fact that it's a great escape. Like, I want to see, are they going to make it out? Are they not?
And then it's a true story.
Right.
Because they give you that preamble at the beginning of like, the guys are not exactly the right guys, the same guys, but all of the events that you see, all of like the methods that you see used are exactly how it happened.
Right.
And that's like, you see based on a true story and you're like, okay, well, this is mostly fluff. But when they give you that ahead of time, and now having read the book and done some research and everything, that's true.
Right.
Like the amount of specificity they've gone to and exactness is impressive. Because, usually the reason that based on a true story is usually fluff is because real life isn't as exciting as a movie.
Right.
But this story genuinely is.
And the way that the story is told in real life is more complicated. How do I condense it down, even to a 2 hour and 45-minute movie?
Sure.
To be able to tell a coherent story that has themes and has ideas and makes me feel something, in the end.
I think so much of that comes down to the actors. Every single performance in this is so good. Everyone is fantastic. I love them all. Like, oh man, I've got my synopsis notes here. Like, the men arrive and immediately start scoping the place out.
Yeah.
And you get all these fun scenes of people just doing like throwaway escape attempts just because like they know it's not going to work, but they're like, well, let's see what happens.
Right. Which also kind of sets the scene of
they're kind of goofers.
Kind of, yeah. It's
They're guys
pretty
being dudes a little
lighthearted,
bit.
which connects to me with the theme of the whole thing. Is the theme music is kind of lighthearted. It's kind of
it's like a
the
march.
Germans are almost like, oh, we caught you there, and they're like, ah, darn, like, oh shucks, you got me this time, Kraut.
Yeah.
Like, I'm back to. Oh, you want me to go to the isolation room? Here I go. I guess.
Oh,
Take
yeah.
my baseball with me.
Did I write down Steve McQueen? He's the cooler king, is what they call him.
Yeah.
Which is great.
He is so hot in this movie, dude. Like, iconic. He looks
It's
so
crazy.
good. Every time I see Steve McQueen in this movie, I'm like, dude, how do I look like him? Like, he's just got a t-shirt on and a leather jacket, and I'm like, damn, that's cool.
Right?
He's cool.
I've got my notes here because they've got these three guys who went on to be extremely famous. Were already extremely famous, and that's Garner, Bronson, and McQueen. And they're just playing their archetypes so well.
Right.
Except
That's a good word.
Bronson
That's a good word for it.
kind of breaks that mold a little bit, which is really interesting because we've got Garner, who is the definition of charm, who plays Henley, the Scrounger. He's so charming and he's so charismatic and cool, and it's great. Bronson is the tough guy. He's always the big tough in the movies. Gosh, what was his famous franchise? It's like Hard Kill or something.
Don't remember.
Charles Bronson
Got
movies.
it. 1 second.
Death Bullet or something. Death Proof is no. It's something like that. Are you looking it up?
Yeah, I'm on his Wikipedia page. Leading man.
Come on.
Acting
come on,
career.
come on.
That's what all I want is acting career.
Death. You should have just looked up
I'll just
Bronson
look at the
movies,
name.
yeah.
Top Charles Bronson movie. Sorry, keep talking.
Come on, man.
I'm Googling
It's
as
video
fast
now.
as I can. Death Wish.
Death Wish.
Once Upon a Time in the West.
That's another great one.
He's also in the Magnificent Seven.
He is. A lot of these guys are in Magnificent Seven. I think James Garner
and The
is
Dirty
as well.
Dozen, which is that's a fun movie that's very similar. Anyway.
But he's usually the tough guy. And McQueen is just the definition of cool in the mid to late 60s and early 70s. That is just what Steve McQueen is. And he does that so well in this too. But Bronson is kind of the surprising one in this because like everyone is playing their archetype very well. Donald Pleasance is this very pleasant man. Richard Attenborough is the like erudite British guy who's got a plan and everything. Garner is the charming dude. You've got James Coburn kind of being a smart alecky Australian. All of these guys are playing to type. And so is Bronson for most of it, but then you find out that he is claustrophobic. And he has like a breakdown and he's crying and it's emotional. And you're like, this is unexpected. Like this level of vulnerability from the tough guy actor in this era, I did not remember that. And I found that so fascinating and so cool to see that he would be willing, because he has such a persona built up around him, even in his like regular life, of just like the tough guy, the cool guy. So it's really cool to see him as an actor like willing to go to that place, as opposed to like you look at guys like The Rock or Vin Diesel who have stuff in their contracts about how many times they're allowed to get punched and like weird stuff where it's like you're putting on a front and trying to be a cool guy and you're like very concerned about your image. But Bronson comes from an era, I think, where they were tough guys, but they were also like genuinely actors. Like they were interested in the craft of it for real. Not that The Rock and Vin Diesel aren't, but I think this is a different kind of thing.
Yeah, the craft, that's interesting. Like more like they're growing into the craft of being a movie star, of being
I think they're more interested in the story and the work and the character than they are in self, which is what I feel like you get a lot in modern stuff.
You can't detach all the characters from Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yes,
like,
you're just watching The Rock every
own
time.
Brand. Yeah, right.
So that's why it's interesting, because we're so used to that. So then seeing Bronson just run the other way, essentially, is really cool. And everyone else is fantastic. I mean, probably my favorite character in this would be Henley. I just love James Garner. He's just wildly charming. But I was the most impressed by, what's his name? Bronson, by his performance specifically.
Yeah.
Which is like, I've not seen him do amazing stuff in other stuff.
Amazing
stuff and other stuff. Leave me alone!
I won't. I'm
Thank you.
going to hold you to a higher standard.
Oh, sweet.
Steel, serpent, steel.
Cool.
Yeah, I think for me, mostly probably because I haven't seen that many Steve McQueen movies. I think this was fun for me to watch Steve McQueen, and he reminded me a lot of my grandpa, I feel like, which was also kind of fun. Yeah, just like his style, or I don't know how much. I'm curious now my grandpa's passed away, but I wonder how much characters like Steve McQueen influenced my grandpa, or like I don't know, like pop culture of the 60s, 70s. Steve McQueen being the king of cool, like like, what do they call him in the movie? They call him
The Cooler King, 'cause he's always in the cooler.
which is funny because I think like pop culture wise, I think I saw a couple things where people were
The
calling
King
him
of
the
Cool.
King of Cool.
I think that is a thing,
which
yeah.
is fun. So anyway, yeah, I think that makes me more interested in Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
And his impact on, I don't know, maybe my own grandpa or
He didn't
what?
say his famous catchphrase in this though.
What's his famous
Ka-chow.
catchphrase? Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Steve McQueen when he wins the race.
The Piston Cup.
Yeah.
He's like,
Mhm.
Steve, I am Steve. You know what I mean?
I forgot about that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forgot how that was such a catchphrase.
It's a really pivotal part of the movie.
Yeah. He loves Rusty's, especially when he chooses to stick with Rusty's.
Right?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Which I was hoping they would allude to in this movie, but they didn't in The
No.
Great Escape. Nope.
Yeah.
No.
Unfortunate.
That's a miss for me.
That's
All
a
right.
miss. That's a mister for me.
What are we
Music.
talk about next? Yeah. I think the theme is lovely. It's
so
so
good.
catchy.
It's so good.
And I think I have a love-hate, not with the theme, but I think the theme represents something I'm not sure about with this movie. That
Sure.
how lighthearted it is. The theme lighthearted, but then so much in the movie too. I feel like there's a lot of power and emotion, and this is like a daring thing.
Yeah.
And yet it feels like there's something fun about this movie. Like,
Yeah.
the theme is fun. The whole story is fun. They're like breaking out of like the Nazi camp, the good guys
Yeah.
versus the bad guys. Haha. It almost feels like there's not enough weight sometimes until the
Sure.
very end of the movie when people start dying. And you're
and
like,
it gets like
"Hol-
depressing.
Holy cow. Yeah. So I don't know if I love how they balance that in this movie. I don't know how light it should feel.
It's interesting because, like, having read a lot of the book is written that way.
It really?
Yeah, like you get the sense that, like, while there were tough conditions, obviously, and they were scrounging for food, they talk about a lot more of like the actual practical conditions of the camp a lot more.
Right.
There was a general attitude of like positivity and let's work. But you also do get those dour moments in the movie when like they discover one of the tunnels or where
Yeah.
they find the second tunnel and they're like, crap, what are we gonna do now?
Right.
But it definitely like it is a bit lighter in the movie. One of the things that I was talking about with Donovan this morning, I don't think Donovan listens, but
Hey, Donovan, welcome. If you're just joining us.
maybe like put some effort in to this friendship and
Oh.
listen to the show
Jesus.
or watch it.
All right.
Just
I'm
saying.
not going to put that on you, Donovan.
I will, and I am, and I have.
Just come to the lounge.
So-
Come to the lounge sometime.
Come to lunch.
The lounge.
Come to lunch. He's not invited to the lounge till he watches it. But what was I saying? There's certain aspects of this that you look at and you wonder, like, is this movie and heightened and like goofy and whatever? And some of it is certainly because it is a movie. And like the thing that I was particularly curious about is the relationship between the soldiers in the camp and the soldiers running the camp. Because it's not super intense. It's not like
Yeah.
jailer jailed a lot of the time.
Right.
And from the sense that I get from the book, that's not entirely inaccurate.
It sounds like some of them even were aware that prisoners were trying to escape.
Yes.
Like pitched in, helped.
Yeah.
Which adds to the complicatedness of the real life story.
Yeah. Well, it's because the camp is not run by the SS and it's not run by the Gestapo.
Right.
It's run by the Luftwaffe, which apparently was like genuinely like that guy who was running the camp and his people were genuinely like appalled by what was happening in Germany. And there's something like he said, the commander himself had said something about the Gestapo and the SS, like that's not the real Germany. So I think that that's interesting because you get that conversation earlier in the movie
Right.
where the commander goes and talks to the camp leader and they have a very just like honest conversation of like, listen, man, let's just sit here. I've got my best guys here. We're going to stop you from escaping. So let's just all chill and sit out the war. And then the British commander's like, we got to do whatever we can, man. I get it, and I would love that, but not going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's this interesting moment of like lucidity between the two of them.
Yeah.
That seems unreal. But based on the book, I wouldn't doubt that was an actual conversation, and that it wasn't like threats back and forth, but just like, listen, man, this is where I'm at, and this is what the deal is. And the other saying, yep, I hear you. Got to do what I got to do. And both of them just like having this mutual respect as soldiers, just being like, got to do our jobs. Sucks, but all right, here we go.
Yeah. The movie ends.
It does.
With
at like 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Phrase that is, was it worth it?
Yeah.
Was the loss of the 50 worth it? And the response is, depends on your perspective.
Yeah.
And for me, I don't know if that felt like a big existential deep question by the end of the movie. And maybe that's just because of where I'm at in my own personal beliefs and thoughts and feelings.
Yeah.
But to me, it felt like, holy crap, no, not worth it. If you would have just waited out the war, you would have been fine.
Sure.
The whole, like, coming off of All Quiet on the Western Front, the nationalism, the machismo, we're gonna make you work for keeping us prisoners. Like, we're gonna help the war effort wherever possible.
Yeah.
You know, there's so much of that with World War II, especially of the war effort and doing your part for the war effort.
Yeah.
You know, the drives, the rations, the victory gardens, the whatever to support the boys over there. That is almost fun. Is almost like looking back on that. It's, oh man, maybe that's just my own nostalgia from elementary school and middle school when I was watching these movies for the first time. That
I don't think so.
I so much admired and looked up to that.
Yeah.
And it's, once again, World War II versus World War I. We kind of talked about this in the last episode.
Yeah.
But it's so much easier for World War II to say the Nazis are the bad guys.
Yeah.
You know, it was worth it because we stopped Hitler.
Yeah.
You know, and I think this movie, sometimes for me, maybe it's my own insecurity with my own shift in thinking. Sometimes this movie for me too much feels like the propaganda of the US are the good guys. You know, we did it, like, of course it was worth it, even though 50 people died. In my brain, I'm thinking, oh, it wasn't worth it. But I guess you're right. The response is depends on your perspective, and I guess that's my perspective.
I don't know. It's interesting because you could look at it different ways.
Yeah.
Of like, if this is what they considered their duty and their job and everything, and they got 17 guys out that actually made it out and everything, like you see James Coburn's character makes it to Spain and joins the fight there.
Right.
Like, I don't know. Is the effort that they went to worth the loss of these 50 men? I don't know. And I don't know that I could possibly say. Because, I mean, I'm not there. Have you watched all of Andor?
I have not yet. Nope. Sorry.
Okay. Well, never mind.
Shoot. Is there a similar dilemma?
A little bit.
Okay.
So, mild spoilers for Andor.
I'm on episode 4 or 5.
I don't know, man.
Okay.
There's a point where the Stellan Skarsgård character is talking to Saw Gerrera, and he's like, "There's going to be a raid. You got to work with Krieger, and everything's going to be good." And Saw is like, "No, I'm not interested. I don't want to do that."
Yeah.
He comes back later, and then Saw has called him back, and he's like, "I'm in. I want to do the thing. I'm on board." What we've learned in the interim, from Luthen, the Stellan Skarsgård character, he's learned from his source in the Empire that they know about Krieger, and that the whole thing that they're planning is going to be a trap. And Luthen has to make the choice to sacrifice those men or not. So they can go in there and save them, but now the Empire knows they've got a mole. Because how would they possibly know that?
Right.
Or you can let these, I think it is like 50 something men actually, 50 men die to further this overall cause.
It's a fun dilemma.
It is, and it's interesting, and you get this really interesting conversation between Luthen and Saw, and because Saw is this very like anarchist almost type disruptor character more than anything. I mean, he's basically like the definition of like all of the Rebel Alliance are technically domestic terrorists, but that is actually Saw Gerrera. Like, if you are looking at the original Star Wars movies versus Saw Gerrera, one of these people is definitely a terrorist. I don't know, but it gives you that, like, that's the interesting question of perspective of, like, by definition, yes, terrorism. But they are in the right. But you get a lot more of that gray area in Andor especially. Like, they really dive deep into that, like, that question there.
Right.
And they don't do that as much in The Great Escape. Like, it's not... And that's why I would excuse that a lot more, is because it's really not what the movie's trying to do.
Right. It's more telling the
examine that.
story and yeah.
Yeah, and they're adapting it pretty close. But I think you could even look at it as, like, are they saying that it was worth the loss of these 50 men?
Yeah.
Or not? Because I think the inclination is to say that, like, yeah, it was worth it and everything.
Yeah.
But also, I don't know what indication we have that says that they were definitively, like, that was the outlook.
I feel like that. Oh wow. Okay, this circles back all the way to the initial thing you were talking about, which was the score.
Yeah.
I feel like the message is yes, it was worth it, because it also, in this movie, in the place of a lot of other movies at the time, doesn't feel like to me a response to those other movies. I think it's in the same vein of, like, in this movie are veterans from the war, from World War II. This is going to a U.S. audience that all lived through the war.
Yep.
I think they're pretty clearly saying it was worth it. With like the patriotism, the little march, all of it feels to me like good guys, bad guys. Their sacrifice makes me feel something.
Yeah. But I think that's the lean, but I think they do definitively, like, leave room open.
Sure. Yeah.
For either perspective. And I think the music could even be a callback to that. To go again back to the music, is that it does have those jaunty upbeat parts, that dun dun ba 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 dum bum, which is fantastic. But it does get, like, the only version of that soundtrack that's on Spotify is a 15-minute, like, suite, essentially, by Elmer Bernstein, which is really great. But you get all of the movie in there, essentially. And there are, like, darker bits and, like, heavier bits of the score. And I think you could... It might not be their intent, but you could certainly, as a modern audience, look at that and think, getting, you know, Bartlett's last words of, you know, this might have been the happiest I've ever been working on these tunnels and everything.
Yeah.
In a way that's kind of tragic, just knowing that they're all about to be murdered in cold blood.
Yeah.
But I think that that's also, like, that might be a statement on World War II, just the fact that they didn't expect that was going to happen. Because that's just, like, unprecedented, that you would take these prisoners of war and you would just, yep, I don't know what happened to them, and you're just taking them out of a box truck and just shooting all these men indiscriminately. Like, there's a level of lack of, I don't know, honor, I don't know, that you get with the Nazis and with the SS. Just this brutal nature, which is why you look at them as, like, pure evil and everything. That I think that these guys would look at it as worth it for that entire period, maybe right up until that moment, because they're probably thinking, like, well, if they catch us, we're going back, I guess. Unless they shoot us out here, but if they capture us, we're just going back to the camp.
Yeah, which is fun too, that they did include the Luftwaffe versus Gestapo SS,
because
like
that was
dynamic.
An actual transition that happened in the real camp.
Right, was from
around that same time.
And the people who, you know, when the news comes back to camp, what's his name, Luger, the general or whatever, the guy that's in charge.
The actor is Hans Mesmer. I don't know the character.
The character is whatever, something Luger.
Yeah.
But he's like, well, the higher ups have told me to tell you that 50 men have been killed for escaping or in their escape.
Yeah. Supposedly.
Not really saying that they were killed in cold blood, but
Yeah, but
while they were
know.
running away, they were killed.
Yeah.
So anyway, but I think that too even helps tell some of that story. The real life story that some of the guards in the camp were sympathetic and anti-Nazi.
Yeah.
And that there is this dynamic even within the German forces of radicals and normal German citizens who just want to do their job to get through the war.
Well, I think the implication is that the leader of the camp is about to basically go get shot when they take him out.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it seems like to me.
At least being demoted. At best, he's leaving his position. Worst.
Was it this or something else I was watching where somebody was talking about, like, oh, if I do something wrong, I'm off to the front? I don't know if that was this or if that was something else.
No.
I think that might have been something else.
Okay.
But I get the sense that, like, that's kind of the dynamic here, is that while they are sympathetic to each other to a certain degree, like, you get that with Werner as well, where he's like, I can't mess up or I'm going to get disciplined and everything.
Right.
Even if they are, like, it's that conversation they have early on of just, this is where I'm at, this is what I got to do, this is where you're at, what you've got to do. You're a soldier, I'm a soldier, we got to do what we got to do. Neither of us is happy about it, but here we are.
Right.
I think that's an interesting way to start it. And they do it that way. And that's what happens. And that's what happens in the movie.
And that's the movie.
And that's the movie.
And that's going to be a yes or a no for me. Cool. So I feel like... and he's back, ladies and gentlemen. He tried to leave, but the pod pulled him back. All right. So what are we at here? How many...
I don't know. I haven't looked.
Time to get
46.
Moving on. I think in terms of like a lighthearted versus like a heavy thing, I think this does a pretty good job balancing it. If you really want really lighthearted, then I guess you watch Hogan's Heroes. You ever seen Hogan's Heroes? Like,
I haven't watched Hogan's Heroes, but I'm aware of it.
Okay.
What a crazy thing to exist.
It is so funny.
Yeah.
Not so funny. It's so funny that it exists as a thing that you can watch. Yeah, there's like blatantly this movie, but like a comedy.
Yeah.
Like that, like it's like the bumbling
Nazis.
guards and Nazis and
created by Jewish people.
Yeah. And
was Mel Brooks part of that?
Was he?
I don't remember.
I mean,
I saw something about the origin of Hogan's Heroes. I don't remember where it came from specifically.
I am not remembering. But I mean, the whole idea is that they're like purposefully staying there in camp so that they can send info back to the Allies.
Yeah.
And they purposefully don't escape. They purposefully stay there as long as possible.
It's so good.
And try to keep the bumbling Nazis in control instead of having them be kicked out. So it's like this weird thing where like everybody's kind of working together.
Yeah.
Like, anywho, that would be like blatantly the lightest this could be.
Yeah.
The heaviest this could be would be like some other newer heavy war movie. Yeah.
I don't know. There was an interesting comparison that I kept thinking of this versus The Bridge Over the River Kwai.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be that would be a darker version of this for a similar
a little
piece.
bit. Like, it's definitely, it doesn't have the lighthearted bits.
Yeah.
It definitely contemplates that philosophical question a lot more.
Yeah.
Because it's a very different perspective in that one. In this, you get it's our duty to screw with you and mess you up and escape, as opposed to Obi-Wan Kenobi, who is like, we're going to build them the best freaking bridge they've ever seen.
Yeah.
And they're going to be like, wow, the British are really good at making bridges.
Yeah.
And then you get that moment of awful realization at the very end of the movie where he's like, why did we build this bridge?
Yeah.
Blow it up, blow it up, blow it up.
Yeah.
Which is kind of hilarious. But it is a lot more, it's a more realistic take, I feel like, on the prison life.
Being a
Is James
POW?
Garner in that too?
I have it pulled up because I was going to recommend it. Sean Connery, Michael Caine. Oh, no, sorry, that's a bridge too far.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Sorry.
A Bridge Too Far is good, but it's so long.
Alec Guinness, William Holmes, Jack Hawkins. Who did you say?
James Garner.
No. Not to the best of my knowledge.
Rock Hudson. There's one of those like hunky Hollywood stars in that one. I don't remember who it is though. I don't know. But that's a really good movie as well. Jack Hawkins is great in that. He's like the American Special Forces guy who comes in.
Yep.
He's great. That's a really, really good movie.
All of these movies, for some reason, I watched in like 6th grade, 5th grade. And so I like
Really?
have really hazy memories of them all. Yeah,
That's
so
a bad time to watch these.
So yeah, I don't know. So here's what happened. Every time we went to Walmart, this is fun. Every time we went to Walmart, parents go do the shopping, and my brother and I go to the video game section, where there is a TV screen locked behind the glass and like 2 or 1 controllers coming out of the glass.
Of course.
And your neck gets tired from looking up like this the whole time playing the video game.
Yeah.
But the video game demo you could play was Call of Duty Big Red 1.
The Bidge over the river. The Bidge over the River Qual.
Nope. The Big Red 1, Call of Duty 2, was the demo, so we played it a lot. And then one time while my mom was out of town, my dad took us to Walmart and we purchased said game, brought it home, played it on the PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
It was, would it have been PlayStation 2?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Anyway, then mom got home and was not happy that we were playing that game. But and my dad was like, "What's the difference? They were playing it at Walmart." And anyway, so then I really
not wrong.
I was already at the same time I was interested in World War II, but that definitely was a piece of that for me.
Sure.
And then my dad ended up showing us like all of these movies from
Pizza.
Yeah. Yep.
Star Trek.
Great Escape, Bridge on the River Kwai, Bridge Too
Spider-Man.
Far, Guns of Navarone.
Three Amigos.
No.
Hellboy 2. The
Although I
Golden
did
Army.
see The Three Amigos when I was in like 4th grade.
It's a
too.
great
So,
movie. It is a great movie.
Much more adult themes than I recognized as a kid. But
Yes.
I'm
Like
trying
to
to remember what
kiss
other.
me?
So anyway, all these movies, World War II flicks,
Yeah.
I saw when I was did I see Patton? There's definitely one of them where I no. I saw what did we watch at that same age? Oh my gosh, it's another tank movie from World War II.
Bridge Too Far has tanks in it. But it's not Bridge Too Far?
No, what's the name of
old tank movie?
Shoot, dude. I'm totally blanking. What's the name of the German counteroffensive from World War II?
You're a really good social studies teacher. Did
I'm
you know
so
that?
good. I don't teach U.S. history, bro.
Das Boot. It's not that.
I didn't. Did I see Das Boot? We saw The Hunt for Red October. There's so many of these
Good
freaking old war movies that we should do for this podcast. Counteroffensive. World War II. Winter. In the winter. Battle of the Bulge. Saw that in elementary school. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Haven't seen that one.
Anyway, so I'm hazy on all of these films sometimes when
That's
I think
fine.
back on them because I haven't seen them since 5th grade, but I had a real World War II phase thanks to Call of Duty. Thanks, Call of Duty.
I feel that. Do you want to hear some of my notes on the book?
Yeah, sure.
There's some really good quotes in the book. It's written by a British soldier. It's not as primarily British as the movie makes it look, where the McQueen and Hendley are the only Americans, and Hendley is not even on the American Army; he's in the RAF. Right? I think that's what.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Yep.
But it was much more split. But the British were there first. So the Americans come in, the British are already scheming and everything. And the writer of the book talks about how it's much harder to get the Americans in on the scheming and everything because they're all about righteousness and uprightness. And he says that they had to really convince the Americans what they were doing is just. And these are the examples that he gave of the bad things that Americans do that they have believed are just, and that's why he said the Panama Canal and the treatment of the American Indians. This is called out in the book.
Nice.
As all you have to do is convince the
Wake
Americans
up.
that they're righteous, and then they'll do whatever you want.
Sheesh.
That's hilarious and unfortunate and true.
Accurate, yeah.
It's a melancholy fact that what is it? This is a good quote. It is a melancholy fact that escape is much harder in real life than in the movies, where only the heavy and the second lead are killed. This time, after great success, death came to some heroes. Later on, it caught up to some villains. I think that's an interesting quote, just because it has been adapted into a movie now, and we do get that accurate representation of all of these men that died. It's not like the second to main character and the bad guy, like he says here.
Yeah.
So that's cool. Referring to Roger, if the Germans had realized what a troublesome man they had caught, they would probably have shot him then. It would have paid them. That's That's great. The book is really, really entertaining. Like, it's
cool.
just written by, as though one of these guys wrote it, essentially. It's just a
Gotcha.
guy being dudes writing the book. The Germans had built large trenches at one point to stop the tunneling around the entire camp, like deep trenches. But people just did the mole blitz tunnel method right through it. So like, crap. So they filled the tunnels back in.
Right.
And that is when they started digging 30 feet down, because they were actually, there's a throwaway line at one point where they talk about like sounding devices and being heard. They actually dug microphones down where that trench used to be, because they already had the hole dig out. So they put the trench down there, or the microphones down there, and there were people listening to it around the clock.
Wow.
So that's why they dug 30 feet down, just to go underneath where the trench was, and also to go far below the microphones.
Wow.
Really cool.
Yeah, the real story is shocking.
When there were plenty of things that were just from the book and reality right to the movie. So the fake fight to check the blind spot,
Yep.
that was a real thing. That was
fun when
taken
they
right
were
out
like,
of reality.
They're like, oh, which one do you want? Do you want the old
the scoop-de-doo or
yeah.
the whoopity-bump?
Yeah, and they're like, oh,
Like-
give him the fists.
Yeah, the fists,
yeah,
okay.
uh-huh.
Give him your coat. Okay, hey, that's my coat.
Yeah.
Completely a real thing that happened.
Wow, cool.
Which is great. Tunneling like a mole was an actual strategy they used. The claustrophobic tunneling expert, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
That was the actual guy who was the tunnel king, is a guy who had really bad claustrophobia from collapses before, just like Danny. The Luftwaffe commander was actually softer and despised the Gestapo. The men had tons of escape attempts behind them and had learned by a ton of experience. Their skill is not exaggerated.
Wow.
Which is really cool, because you watch that and you think these guys are so like ultra talented, they don't even have to try. That's just real.
Yeah.
Like they go through in the book the tons of escape attempts before they even get to the camp, something 3, I can't remember what it's called. And there's so many different attempts of like, well, this is what we got wrong that time, and this is what we learned from that. And this is what we got wrong that time, and this is what we learned from that. And like over and over and over again until you get to the main camp.
What a good message
really
for
cool.
life, you know? That, you know,
Yeah.
maybe I just need to mess up like a bunch of times.
And then
before
50 of us died.
Yeah.
So there were 3 tunnels, Tom, Dick, and Harry. Apparently the one that they actually got out of, it was mismatched. It wasn't the one that was actually used in the movie. So I think it was Harry, or no, Tom. They discovered Tom.
Right.
And that's the big moment of 4th of July, which is a great scene. Where they're like, I can't figure out why he's buying all those dang potatoes. And then you get the scene of them like working so
distilling
hard.
it.
That,
Yeah.
Wow. Like, that's classic 1960s comedy, and it's still hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had actually a 4th tunnel that was not declassified at the time of the movie or the book, and it was called George.
Which also, speaking of declassified, I saw that there was quite a bit of stuff in terms of how involved the Allies were in giving them info and like
Really?
dropping them stuff that wasn't declassified for the movie, because they didn't want they would rather the audience think that these guys just like did it all on their own, but
Yeah.
actually like the Allies were supplying them with quite a bit of info.
Really?
Yeah, that they didn't declassify for them to use.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not surprising. Dirt dispersal in gardens, marching, volleyball games, those are all real ways they did it. You don't see volleyball games in the movie, but they would like play volleyball. They would put dirt on the ground and everything and then just mess it up by just playing sports.
Crazy.
Which is great. The pants sacks things, that's all true to
Yeah.
life.
Huh. Cool.
Really cool stuff. Those are the notes that I have for that. Do I have any other special synopsis notes? Being in the tunnels would be terrifying. I just look at that and think like I'd be Danny in that situation.
Yeah.
I love the homemade alcohol scene. That is partially real. There were more Americans in the camp than in the movie. So it wasn't quite like that. I think there was a holiday they celebrated, but I don't believe it was 4th of July. That one impatient guy ruining everything is infuriating, but imagine being that guy and knowing what you did.
Right.
But also, like, you get 250 guys out. They're just going to get caught again.
Right.
And I'm sure that they're anticipating that. They're just trying to embarrass them more than anything.
Sure.
But crazy. I adore the music. The color grading in this movie is really beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the cinematography.
Yeah.
I think this is a very pretty movie.
Yeah.
You get the scenes in Austria when Steve McQueen's on the motorcycle at the end, which is, by the way, the condition on which he took the movie.
Super cool.
He was like, they were like, you want to be in our movie? And he said, can I ride a motorcycle in it?
Really?
And so they added all those scenes.
That's awesome.
Yeah, of him, like all of those different driving and everything, that's actually him doing all the writing.
That's so
except for the jump
I
over
did
the
see
fence.
that. Yeah.
That was his buddy.
But they said also that
He did do an attempt.
Any of the scenes, they said there were 3 people who did do the stunt.
Yeah.
And like any of the 3 could be the one that made the final cut.
Okay, so it might be a lie.
Well, he said apparently in a Johnny Carson interview that Johnny Carson was like, that was pretty awesome when he made that jump. He was like, no, that was my friend.
Yeah.
But it could be any of them that made the final.
Who
jump.
knows?
Yeah.
It's old. There's no way to know.
If that was my attitude for everything,
life would be simpler.
it's old. There's no way to know.
Every one of these characters has such a distinct, cool personality.
Yeah.
I love that we get to see every single job in action. I talked about that.
Okay, so
yes, go ahead.
That there, like I said earlier, I was watching Ocean's 11 when you texted if I wanted to watch this, and I had seen an IMDb fact that said something about Ocean's 11 that was they were inspired by The Great Escape, and I responded to you with that, and you were like, "What? That's weird. How like
No,
that
I
seems like a
understand.
weird yeah." But what you just said about each of the characters are really compelling, and then like you get to watch them in each of their jobs. Obviously, in this movie, there's much longer portions that you watch them doing their job.
Yeah.
But I think that feels like the Ocean's 11 thing to me, where each person has their job, each person has like is a part of. You
Yeah.
want to see each person blend together in the final escape, the final break-in, the final whatever. Like you've kind of met all these little characters in their own little. What word did you use earlier? Their own archetypes.
Yes.
Like this is the archetype for this character, and so anyway, it was kind of fun for me. Again, in this movie, similar to Ocean's 11, like each character does a thing. And
Yeah,
it's
they each
funny
have
to
their
see that
individual job.
Yeah, and the IMDb fact was that they were inspired by wanting the characters to have their own lingo that only they understood.
Sure.
Which is connected to this movie where they're like, you're the mole, you're the whatever, you're the
Tunnel
king,
King and the Cooler King
Yeah, and they don't tell the
Scrounger.
audience like the Tunnel King is
Yeah.
the
Or they call Germans ferrets,
Yeah.
which is an actual. They call them goons and ferrets, which are the actual terms that everyone called them.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah. So like the Americans called them goons and the British called them goons. So then all of the other militaries just kind of picked that up.
Oh, interesting.
So when they talk about like the goon towers, that's actually what they called them.
Huh.
And apparently like ferret must have been a much more known term at the time, because when you listen to the book, I read the book, whatever, I listen to the book. He just uses the term ferret without any context.
Throws it out.
And if I hadn't seen the movie, I'd be so confused.
Interesting. Huh.
It's like, what?
Yeah, who are they? Yeah, what?
There were ferrets there?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
Have you ever read the comic book Mouse?
I have.
Then you would understand.
Are there ferrets in Mouse?
No, there's not.
No, I don't think so.
No, I'm kidding.
There are cats in that. Stupid.
Aren't they rats?
I don't know, man.
They're rats. For sure.
No, the Germans are cats, and the Jews are mice.
Yeah.
Cat and mouse.
Are they
So the Germans would be-
I'm
yeah.
an idiot.
And the Americans
That's
are
what you get
dogs.
for-
The Polish are
That's what
pigs.
you get for banning a book.
Jeez, man. I can give you a copy.
No, I'm good. Thanks.
Okay.
though. We still have them at LPS. They haven't banned those things.
That's true. It's a very good book.
Anywho.
I got some general trivia. You don't want to hear it?
Yeah, do we have time?
Yeah, we got time.
Okay.
We got time.
Sweet.
Skibidi-bidi-bop-bop.
Yeah,
There's a great movie that is a parody of this
okay.
that I adore.
Okay.
Fantastic film.
All right.
Let me tell you a short story about it.
Is this Chicken Run?
Yes.
Boom! Let's go.
I used to, when Pandora was a thing, I used to listen to film score radio on Pandora and just guess the movie.
Oh, fun.
And that was a fun game I would play with myself. It was a good time.
Marshall used to play with himself.
Yes, exactly. And I got pretty good at it. Even movies that I hadn't seen, I'd be able to figure it out based on the instrumentation and stuff like that.
Cool. Weird flex, but okay.
I know, I was really happy about it. I was like, man, I'm the coolest Pandora guesser of all time. But one time, I had seen The Great Escape and I had seen Chicken Run. So I was listening to this song and I thought, what is this? This sounds familiar. I don't know what this. Wait a second. Is this The Great Escape? This is a Great Escape. I look at it. It's Chicken Run.
Sick. Nice.
And it's good. The soundtracks aren't like identical, but you get a very similar. Because the Great Escape has bum bum. Bum ba ba dum bum bum ba dun 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 dun, and then Chicken Run has I just had it in my head and then I sang that one. Let me think. Chicken Run is. Oh no! I had it, Ben.
We're gonna get sued for copyright anyway.
No, it's like the ba 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 ba. That's the Great Escape. But it's bum 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 ba da bum ba da 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 da. Yeah, it's that same kind of like upbeat flute thing. Podcast is ending, but it's really fun, and both those movies are great. That's probably my favorite Aardman movie. I love Wallace and Gromit.
I have never finished Chicken Run. I've only seen clips, and it's something I should go watch now.
We don't need to watch it for the show. I think we should just watch it for fun.
Yeah.
But I love it. There's a lot of great lines in that movie where like the caretaker keeps noticing the chickens are being weird, but the woman who owns the farm is oblivious to this. But she's like this evil woman. So he sees the chickens doing weird stuff. Like he opens the coop and they're like tunneling or digging or something, and they just all look up and look at each other. And then he looks down and he closes it, runs inside, and he goes, "The chickens are revolting!" And she goes, "Finally, something we can agree on." Like, that's
so funny.
incredible. There's so many great lines in that movie.
I should give it a watch.
It's fantastic. Wally Flood, the real-life Tunnel King, he was transferred to another camp just before the escape, served as consultant to the filmmakers almost full-time for more than a year.
That's cool.
That's so cool. The real camp can be visited today in Sagan, Poland. It's a ruin now that's mostly used. It's a ruin now that's mostly used for archaeological purpose. A replica of the camp is located 40 kilometers, 25 miles south, where you can enter a model of Tunnel Harry yourself. In the movie, they confuse the actual names of the tunnels.
Wow. Yeah.
Pretty cool. James Garner developed his Scrounger character from his own personal experiences in the military as a self-described Scrounger for his company in the Korean War. Not a lot of Korean War media out there.
Yeah.
It's mostly MASH and like a couple movies.
Yeah.
But to be fair, MASH is a really definitive piece of documentation on a war.
Yeah. Yep.
What an amazing show.
Yeah. Some parts don't age well. A lot of parts are still great, though.
I think that it has aged really well.
I like watching it still.
I love it.
It doesn't get the rerun love that a lot of other shows do.
No,
nowadays
and I
with
mean,
our
nobody has
generation.
cable anymore either.
Yeah.
Several cast members were actual POWs during World War II. Donald Pleasance was held in the German camp Stalag Luft 1. Oh, this was Stalag Luft 3, that's why. Hans Mesmer in a Russian camp, and Till Kue and Hans Reiser were prisoners of the Americans. Pleasance said the set was a very accurate representation of a POW camp. So that's cool.
Cool, sweet.
So that's my general trivia, Ben.
Great. What else is there to say? The acting was good.
The acting was great.
Score is good.
Score's great.
Cinematography is good.
Cinematography is great.
What?
All those bricks and screws just took me out of it, though.
What?
That was a Star Wars joke.
I didn't get it.
Famous Star Wars YouTuber, big Star Wars YouTuber, Star Wars Theory.
Yeah.
Watched all of Andor
Yeah.
and was like, the acting was great, and the cinematography was great, the music was great, the script was great. But it's just forgettable. It wasn't very good.
What?
Just there's like the fact that it's a small detail, but you could see like bricks and screws and things. It's like it's supposed to be a galaxy far, far away.
That's funny.
And he's like,
there's no way. Is he being serious?
100%.
Shut up! Really?
Yes, he has like Book of Boba Fett above this.
What?
This man's crazy. He's like a stereotype of a Star Wars fan.
He's what? I feel like I respect his opinion on quite a bit of stuff.
Star Wars Theory's whack, dude.
Crap, dude.
Man's crazy.
Screw that.
And he'll just be in tears about Star Wars stuff. It's like, dude.
Wasn't the whole cool part with Andor was that it was like all like an actual built set? Like,
yes.
Not like in the volume?
Yeah. So there were, Twitter was tearing him apart. It was really funny.
Yeah,
all kinds of pictures of bricks in Star Wars before that and everything. Like, hey, look, I saw a really great one that was apparently, I never noticed this, but it's great as a clap back to Star Wars Theory here. when Luke is reaching out to grab his lightsaber with the Force when he's upside down.
Yeah, right.
The first time we ever see the Force do something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
If you look close, you can see on the bottom of, because it's just a Graflex camera flash, it says "Made in America."
Oh, seriously?
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Isn't that great?
I didn't know that.
I didn't
Wow,
either.
that's cool.
Very entertaining.
Huh.
But yeah,
Dude. Anyway,
The Great Escape. Yes or no?
it was great. It was great.
It was a great
Escape. Yes. What are you gonna say?
Yeah. Yes.
Cool.
I liked it.
That's good.
I really like. This is one of my favorite movies. I have a really good time with it.
Whoa! Crazy. One of your favorite movies? What? There's so many movies in this world.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on my perfect movie list, probably.
Okay. I still am always confused by the Marshall Parrish.
Maybe
perfect
I
movie
would.
list. I'm so confused by it.
Shut up.
Okay.
You don't need to know about it. But yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
What do you want to watch next time?
I don't know. Did this put you in the mood for anything? I kind of wanted to. I've never actually seen the original Magnificent Seven. I kind of wanted to do a Magnificent Seven movie thing. That could be kind of fun.
That could be good. Oh, you know what we should do?
What?
You good?
Yeah.
I feel like you keep coming with good ideas, and then I say, no, let's do something
No,
else.
it's fine. No, the only good ideas I've had recently are I'm reading The Martian, so I said something space related would be fun.
Yeah.
I plugged that cool NASA documentary with the found footage.
Yeah.
And then now just Magnificent Seven. What's your great idea? What should we do?
There are actually good movies coming out right now.
Let's put it on the Discord. No, sorry. Oh, you.
This is what I think. We should watch Glass Onion
Oh yeah, it's in theaters right now temporarily for how
for like
long?
a freaking week.
Yeah. Okay, so we gotta go see it then.
Yeah, it'll be on Netflix after that, but still,
Let's go.
let's go.
Okay.
So we're gonna talk about Glass Onion, and I guess by extension, probably Knives
What
Out.
if it's not great?
I'm hearing exclusively that it's great.
Oh, cool.
I think we'll like it.
I had a couple
and
friends that watched it and said it wasn't that great, but I don't trust their opinion, so.
I think that we'll have a fun time with it. Sometimes we talk about movies that we think are great, and we talk about that, and that's the
You
thing
want to go
we
on
do.
Tuesday? We can get tickets for $5. Let's try.
I can't do the evening, probably.
Son of a gun.
I'll look
Thursday.
into it.
Thursday. Son of a gun.
I'll-
And literally anytime you're free, let's do it.
Listen,
Okay.
I can probably do Tuesday.
We'll find a time.
Shut up.
Okay.
I can probably do Tuesday.
Okay.
Shut up.
Damn it.
Sorry.
Should we include anything else with it? Like other mystery movies?
Knives Out. If you haven't seen Knives Out, we'll probably have to talk about that to a certain degree as well, just
Yeah.
by virtue of it's a sequel.
Okay.
So if you want to watch movies to prepare, watch Knives Out, watch Glass Onion.
This is perfect. I read an interview with Ryan Johnson, so I'll be so
Sweet.
knowledgeable.
We could also wait on Glass Onion until it's on Netflix, so then people are able to watch it.
How about we record it? How about we try to watch it and record it, and then when it comes out, people listen to it.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll figure it out. So if you want to know what's coming up next for sure, there's a couple ways to do that. You can. Well, there's more ways to do that. If you know me or Ben, you can text us, I guess. Call us. Probably me. One of us is a lot better at texting than the other.
Marshall.
And I'm not going to point any fingers.
I'm pointing a finger right now.
I'm not going to point any fingers.
2 fingers.
Whoa.
Marshall.
Not again.
To Marshall.
Dang it. These are the kinds of visual gags that we can't do.
Dang it.
It's fine.
You can blur it out.
Yeah.
So
Making
much
me
more
do
for
work.
you.
I'll probably just put like a black square or something. What's going on over there?
I was just looking at myself in the video. I'm sorry.
Editing this is gonna be an
option
endeavor.
1 is you. Option 2
is Ben. This is the actual response, right? Is
join the Discord.
You can join the Discord, and
us.
I'll put the link to that in. I'll make a link tree on the Instagram.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I also
I've always
need-
wanted to be a part of something with a link tree.
Wow. I also really want to make a website, but it's expensive, and I don't have money for that right now.
Oh, I'll code it. I know how to code. I'll figure it out.
Are you sure?
I kind of know how to code.
What
I
if
took a
we just
class
like
once.
paid money to have Squarespace do all the work, and we just didn't have to try hard?
And time for our sponsors for tonight, Squarespace.
NordVPN, Squarespace, Vessies. Do you like Bombas socks?
Check out. What's that one box eating thing?
Blue Apron,
Yeah, that's the one.
Blue Apron, My Plate, no.
And BetterHelp.
BetterHelp. Athletic Greens. There's a boxing one right now.
How come? What's the cutoff for getting any of those to sponsor our podcast?
I don't know.
At what point are they like, nah, we don't want to do that?
We just got to start reaching out.
To whoever?
Join the Discord. There's going to be a link tree with the Discord on the Instagrams, and you have to check out the Instagram, which is Cinema Lounge Pod on Instagram. It's cool. Every time we post an episode, I post a preview of the episode, and then the Saturday between episodes, I always post what is coming next with some cool pictures from the movie. And there's also other stuff, like I might post. I think for the preview of this episode, I'll do the lounge tour. So you'll be able to see that on there. I might even just make that its own short thing.
Fun.
So you can check that out. That'll be fun.
Join our Patreon.
We're going to be doing video content. If I get that, I don't know if it was on the show or before the show, but I'm trying to get like a work phone, just like an iPhone SE or something. And I would like to do like TikToks and stuff of just make clips and put them on TikTok. But I'm only going to do that if I can get it on a separate phone because I'm not putting TikTok back on my phone. So we're expanding. So check it out.
In more ways.
That's right.
I'm gaining weight
Thanksgiving.
after Thanksgiving.
I've actually been consistently losing.
Good for you.
Yeah.
You biggest loser, you.
Oh.
Big old loser.
Check out the Instagram. Check out the Discord. Join us on Discord. We're both in there. You can be an Eric. Hi, Eric. We haven't talked about you in a while. Love you.
Does he still listen?
Yeah.
Good for him.
And now he's going to watch. I told him today. Yeah.
Hey.
Hi, Eric. Hi, Henry. Megan, if you're there, hi, I guess. Why don't you just finish that off?
It's time for a toast, Marshall.
Dude, dink it and sink it.
And now for a toast to finish the pod.
The inaugural
video
pod.
Toast. Now
Dink it.
Here's to you, Steve McQueen, with your cool fashion and motorcycle stunts.
Yes.
Here's to you, The Great Escape.
Here's to you, James Garner, with your turtleneck and your jet black hair and your patting down of that German at that one point. Now you do one.
Here's to you, Charles Bronson, you macho man who showed a soft side. Here's to you.
Here's to you, Donald Pleasance. You die in this, but it'll be years until Jason kills you.
Whoa.
Is it Jason?
I don't know.
No. Michael Myers.
Michael Myers.
He plays Dr. Loomis in Halloween.
You will die someday in another film that we all like.
Yeah. John Carpenter's Halloween.
Yeah, here's
Attenborough.
Here's to you. What, you say that one?
No, you have to say Bartlett, Richard Attenborough. He's Big X.
But I don't know what to say about it.
Here's to you, Richard Attenborough. You truly spared no expense in this escape.
And
that's a Jurassic Park reference.
And here's to you, The Great Escape theme for being stuck in our head the entire past week. And to you, our listener.
Yes.
May you be fruitful and multiply, and may you escape greatly.
And to the crepes, may the Lord bless you and keep you. And the rest of the whatever creed that is.
Look his face look upon you, shine upon you.
Yeah.
Welcome you back to our doors again. Cinema Lounge Pod. It's been real. This has been a toast.
Dink it and sink it.
Da 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 da. I've been Ben.
I've been Marshall. Wait, I've been Marshall.
I've been Ben.
There we go.
It's
the wrong order.
We'll see you later.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
I don't know how I'm gonna end this.
We just did it.
I don't know if it just fades out.
We did it.
I think we just keep talking. It's like when they go to commercial on a